We were always trying to tease Napa Valley, and not a disrespectful way, but they were the Goliaths and we were the Davids. And we were always the poor little farmer family guys over, so we decided we would, quote unquote, hijack the Napa Valley wine train. We had then a group of friends that we called the Sonoma Valley Wine Patrol. So we put our capes and our masks and our hats on. There were about 18 of us. The Benzingers were there, and some guys from Kenwood were there. Some friends of my father's, they were in their 70s by then. They were there, Dr. Price. And Lance and I had misread the schedule, and we got to the station 45 minutes before the train was leaving. So we had to sit in the train car for 45 minutes with capes and masks and hoods and hats and suitcases on a train that wasn't going. Who needed suitcases? But no one ever came up and asked us what was in the suitcases. And the suitcases were full of Benzinger wines and Sebastiani wines and Hansel wines. And there was only 4 other passengers that were on the car that we got into on the train, and they were 4 sisters. And the youngest one was celebrating her 82nd birthday. So they were fairly elderly, and they thought we were some kind of a religious group sitting in those capes and hoods. So they were kind of frightened until Napoli Leonard got up and offered them a bottle of champagne. We had some Gloria Ferrar champagne. So they thought, so we served them some champagne, and they loosened right up. So anyway, we had a guy, his name was Jim McCullough, with a scroll, and he had a very deep voice, and he walked up and down the cars, and he read the scroll and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're from the Sonoma Valley, and we're going to pour you some Sonoma Valley wines, because right now you only have Napa Valley wines. And if you find that you like Sonoma Valley wines, you're going to find that the price is considerably less than these Napa Valley wines, and with the money that you save by enjoying Sonoma Valley wines, which are just as good, you can send your children to the finest private universities in the country." And with that, the rest of us all went up and down the cars, and we poured Sonoma Valley wines. And I remember I went up to this young couple sitting at a table, and they had Opus 1, and I bit the bullet, and I poured their Opus 1 into a dump bucket out of their glasses first, and then I took the bottle of Opus 1 and poured it into a dump bucket and replaced it with a bottle of, and glasses full of Sebastiani Barbera. And I gave them a little talk, and in good humor, said we weren't going to take their wallets or their watches. We were just there to introduce Sonoma Valley wines. By the end of the trip, everybody was having a great time on the train. The 4 little ladies by then had capes, and they had masks on, and they were helping us pour the wines into, and no one was complaining. The owner of the train came up, and he said, "Who's ahead of this?" And there we were, so I still had my cape on. I said, "Well, I kind of am." And he said, "Well, you know, it was a great thing. I've heard from all my employees and the chefs and everyone that you guys had a great time on the train, but because this train is so controversial, I had to call the sheriffs, because we only have a license to get on and off the train here in Napa, and you guys got off the train at Mondavi's Winery, and that's against the law, and we're on eggshells here trying to keep our license right now. And so I call the sheriffs because you got off the train in an improper place, but they're not going to be here for 10 minutes, so if you can gather your whole crew up and get them in those vans and get out of here, I won't file any complaints." And so that's what we did, and we did have a good time, and eventually that people asked me to talk about that more than they asked to talk about our wines, so I don't talk about that story much anymore.